Hi, my name is Joe Jackson. I'm an interviewer, journalist and broadcaster. And for the first decade of this century, I did for the Irish radio station RTE Radio 1 a music series titled Under the Influence. Sadly, that title was subsequently used, be it stolen consciously or otherwise, for a similar MTV show. So now, after revisiting the master tapes of those old interviews, I've decided to turn the best into a podcast series called The Music That Made Me. I may even add the subtitle, Made Me Want to Make Music. Either way, what follows is one of those shows, minus music, which for copyright reasons I can't include. Some of the full shows and many of my other radio programs are available on Mixcloud.com. And if you want to read any articles that arose out of these interviews, you can check out joejacksoninterviewer.com. Enjoy the show. Okay, I have here today 3 members of Westlife, and there's 2 missing. They're not under the table. Someone tell me where they are. What happened?
They're actually, we flew in from Rome today. We were just off the plane about 2 hours, boys. We actually put into a hat today to see who was going to be the 2 to rest, because we've been absolutely flat out at the moment, coming towards Christmas and that, you know. And we did a concert for the Pope yesterday, and the day before we actually got to meet him, which was absolutely incredible. So the 2 boys, Shane and Brian, missed out on the interview today.
And you guys got the short straws.
We got the short straw, Joe, yeah. And then we're heading in to do the RT rehearsals for the Christmas show.
Tell me just a wee bit more, because obviously it's the end of the year and it's been a great year, lots of success for you, but actually singing for the Pope is a bit of a kind of special gig.
It was, yeah. It actually came about through Louis. I think somebody had contacted Louis' office, and every year in the Vatican City, there's a big opera house in there, and they do a show for the Pope. So we were invited down along to do something, and we did one of our own songs, and then a kind of a Christmassy song, preferably a holy one rather than Jingle Bells or something. Okay. So we did Little Drummer Boy, and we actually performed it when we got there. Dolores O'Riordan from the Cranberries was performing as well. Right. So we got chatting to her and that, and we just decided it'd be a great idea if she could perform with us on stage. So we did Little Drummer Boy before, and it was amazing. And then actually meeting him as well was, you know, we flew all our parents over. Our mums and dads, and unfortunately our dads couldn't meet them. We only had 1 guest each. All right, okay. So we decided it was best.
So did they have to pull straws too?
They pulled the short straws as well, but they got a trip around the Vatican. They were in St. Peter's Cathedral and stuff like that. But it was in all, it was the 2 or 3 days was amazing. Do you guys get paid for that, or is that a blasphemous question? Well, I know that Bob Dylan, when he played for the Pope, got paid. No, they also got paid to appear in a photograph for the Vatican file.
That's an actual disgrace.
It is a disgrace, yeah.
In my opinion.
Okay. Keane? Yeah.
That was very strong.
That was very strong. Absolutely, go for it, Keane.
In a good mood, obviously.
Okay, so you just think it's wrong in that kind of situation? You do it for free.
I think first of all, that concert is a charity event.
Right. Okay.
So to be asked for money, to ask for money when you're doing a charity event is just terrible. And I think it's an honour to meet the Pope and have your photograph taken with the Pope. All right. You know, it shouldn't be an honour for the Pope to take a photograph with somebody else.
They might use it for political reasons. We should get into the music, Keane. Yes. We're going to kick off with you, and I know the kind of music you like to stitch into the stage show. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it is, you do like metal bands, you like Metallica, you like stuff like that. So would that be one of the things that is a real dominant influence in your life?
I love rock guitar. It's as simple as that. I just love nice, heavy distortion, you know, through a Marshall amplifier with a Les Paul. I just love that sound. And
the names are coming out now.
Yeah. Oh, Les Paul. Was he over there in Rome too?
Les Paul's a good friend of yours.
Yeah. We have a Les Paul in the band, actually. Bikes. But,
okay. No, but and also all those parts in the show where the guitar stuff is going on through songs and all that. Yeah. That's what you want there.
Yeah. Well, I said to the guitar player in rehearsals, you know, beef it up a bit and kind of throw a bit more edge onto it and stuff like that, you know. And a lot of times in rehearsals, I kind of turn around to him and he'd be playing this plinker plonker like solo, and I'd say, put on your distortion pedal there and give it a lash. That's what I normally say to him, you know. And I used to introduce him every night on stage, and I said to him halfway through the tour, I says, can you not like do something a bit more heavy than what you're doing for your solo bit? Because he was just like strumming a few chords with a wah-wah pedal, and I just said, can you not like, you know, give it a bit of oomph if you like it. So he started doing that halfway through the tour and stuff as well. So
yeah, but what about the poor children who were getting blown against the back wall?
I don't think it was that loud.
Okay.
Not at a Westlife concert.
Well, let's pick a song that will give listeners a sound of this kind of distortion pedal, or Les Paul even.
Yeah.
What do you want to hear? Do you want to hear Metallica? Do you want to hear whoever?
I think a perfect example is Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine.
Okay. That'll kick off the show. Okay, Mark, we better bring you in after that. Okay, straight out. Mark, hello. You haven't spoken yet?
I haven't. Well, I said a few things, a couple of words.
All right, okay. So I know when I talked to you early in the year for Hot Press About Music, you were saying that you feel sometimes self-conscious singing the Motown medley, that you feel a bit better doing the ballads. Would that be the kind of music you'd prefer, or what exactly would it be?
Well, I think in the Motown melody, I just felt really self-conscious because there was some serious like notes that were kind of like I was the man at the hit or whatever type thing.
Like what songs? Listeners would know. What Motown song really has a challenging high note or whatever it is?
Which one have we done? Which was that one?
Can't Get Next to You.
Can't Get Next to You.
Yeah.
There's this really like high bit in it or whatever.
Go on, let's hear it.
Oh God, are you joking me?
I thought you just came back from Rome. You should be able to
Yeah,
perform
maybe
Three
miracles.
octaves lower.
But
Right, okay. So that kind of song, but is that the kind of stuff you would listen to?
that sort of stuff. I think anything with a bit of soul, in it, anything with a bit of sort of feeling from the soul or whatever, without sounding too kind of corny or whatever. But
Alright.
just sort of like anything with soul in it. But that doesn't confine it to soul music. Just
Okay.
anything that has a bit of like a bit of like
Genuine feeling.
genuine feeling. Yeah, a bit of even a bit of raunch or something, or a bit of like just a bit of just a bit of like inner kind of.
Well, if we want genuine feeling or raunch, maybe I should go for Words by Boyzone. I don't think. But I know that had a big influence on you. Wasn't there a time, and it was another year, another time, you were listening to that while you were working in a loo? In Burger King or something?
No, I was working in a fast food restaurant, and
Right.
I think Words, that song, just kind of it's been killed for me because I used to hear it every single time I was in the toilets cleaning up after the restaurant
Alright,
closed.
Okay.
So I mean that song reminds me, unfortunately, of cleaning toilets.
But does it not also remind you that you were cleaning toilets, and now some other kids listening to your recordings and maybe hoping maybe one day we'll be in a
Yeah,
band?
I suppose that's
what I mean?
another way of looking at it. Totally, that's absolutely. But hopefully, I mean, Flying Out Wings isn't reminding anybody of like
Cleaning
puke
toilets.
at the carpet in a nightclub or something. Do you know what I mean? Hopefully
Okay. So what kind of song would you like us to play? Any particular song you remember, like when you were maybe the age of some of your younger fans, where you just went, God, this is
Yeah,
fantastic
I remember one of the first times I heard Prince. I was just like sort of, I heard it on the radio. I never kind of knew what he looked like or his image and all that or whatever. And I think when I seen him or whatever on TV, then afterwards I was a bit shocked. When I was about 8 or whatever, or 9.
Why?
Or
What was shocking about poor
Well,
Prince?
I mean, I come from Sligo or whatever, and see.
You don't go around
this
dressed like
bloke,
Prince.
Yeah, basically, he used to be a little bit kind of.
You do nowadays, but not then,
But I reckon his version of "Nothing Compares to You" with Rosie Gaines. That song is just sort of, I think, explains what I'm trying to say with the whole kind of soulful thing. It's just really kind of, it's not just singing. It's coming from inside. It's not like anyone can sing it that way.
Yeah.
He just kind of sings it from the heart or whatever, and so does she. So I like that one.
It's also a great arrangement. It's one that kind of Sinead just kind of, it's very, very close to.
Yeah, absolutely. See, she done a very, very soulful version of it as well. And I mean, I kind of know, or I knew the Sinead O'Connor version almost before I knew the Prince version. And that was an amazing version, but I just sort of really kind of have been influenced by Prince, I suppose. So I like to play that one instead.
Well, I think actually Prince released his version afterwards. It was on one of those outtake albums.
Yeah,
He
quite
owed
possibly.
recordings to Warner's.
Yeah. I heard it first. It was on his hits album. So I mean, I don't know exactly when he brought it out, but I've heard it like about 3 years ago, I think, now or something.
Okay, so Prince for Christmas. Okay, all right, your turn. Okay. Nikki, back to music. You've heard the guys talking about the music that influenced them. Is it similar or totally different? I mean, don't be afraid in this show now to absolutely shatter your image and say we hate the kind of boy band music. We never listen to it. This is what we secretly listening to.
No, to be honest with you, I don't think there's any of us that actually hate boy band music. I think
there must be some of it you hate.
Oh, there's some songs definitely that you think, I suppose. I mean, what one would you name? I used to hate Sure from Take That, if you remember that song.
Okay,
and I was quite not a big fan. I was too young to be a big fan, but watching Take That, I always thought they were very cool, and I always wanted to be in a band like that. But that song just was crap, basically. But now moving on, I think.
And who in Take That though did you think might have had, we'd say, what Mark was talking about, a good soulful voice where this really rings true?
Well, I mean, obviously, the only one that stood out to me at the time.
You're in great form today.
Everything's brutal. Everything.
The only one that stood out to me was always Gary Barlow. I mean, he wrote everything, and I mean the songs that he wrote were just great pop songs, and that's the reason that Take That were so successful, because of Gary Barlow. But I mean, it's funny how it all turns out, and Robbie was the one to go on. But Robbie always had that character, you know. Robbie above everything is a great entertainer, and I think singing wise, I think he's learned his trade, and even entertaining, you know, he's had a lot of practice at it. You know, he's in Take That for 5 years, and then you know he's been a solo artist now for 3 or 4. So you know, he had a lot of practice to become where he is today.
But what kind of lesson does that teach you, that it wasn't necessarily the best songwriter or singer who went on to become the star?
Exactly. It's not all about how much talent you have. I mean, it's about how you treat your job, and what your attitude towards the job is like. And Robbie's, in saying that, wasn't a great attitude towards his job. He was just mad, and it just shows that he was the one to be successful. But I don't think there is a Robbie, or there will be another Robbie in the next couple of years. And I don't think there's a Robbie in this band anyway, with that character and that you know, entertainment factor in them. I'm not saying there's no.
You guys are about to hit you. The other two.
No, I think he's right.
No,
you all agree with that?
But I'm not saying that
Robbie has something. Yeah, Robbie is.
He's something different. I don't think like people could achieve that. I'm not saying that anybody else can't be successful. They can be successful, you know, in a Gary Barlow type way in that idea, but obviously a lot more successful than he actually became.
Right.
You didn't listen to me. No, I think, but actually a song I'd like to play going on from that, moving on, is because we spent so much time with Dolores O'Riordan recently in the Vatican in Rome, is one of her old songs, because the Cranberries are actually the first concert I ever went to see, and I was a huge Cranberries fan. Even like I wasn't really into pop music growing up. You know, I'd take that, you know, I'd look at them and think, yeah, that'd be great, you know, it'd be great.
So what were you listening to? Rock too, mostly rock bands?
Well, not really rock bands, just mainly the Cranberries, you know. And my dad was kind of old records, Frank Sinatra and that type of stuff. And I used to listen to things like that, and you know, Shakin' Stevens at Christmas time and all that type of stuff. But then as I grew up, and decided for myself, the Cranberries was the one. So
okay, so you don't want to hear This Old House by Shakin' Stevens,
definitely
even
not,
though it's Christmas.
No, I prefer something like Zombie from the Cranberries or something like that.
All right, okay. And just before we leave it, because you referred to your dad doing all that stuff, and I know you once told me you wanted to record with him at some point, a single, one of those maybe old songs. You should have got in there before Robbie and Nicole doing something stupid. What did your dad think of Robbie's versions of Frankie's songs?
No, he's, you know, he thinks they're very, very good. Obviously, I said to my dad quite recently, actually, I said, I have to get, you know, Robbie's new album and have a listen. He was like, no, God, no. If you want to get that, you have to get Frank Sinatra. You know, if you want to listen to that music, don't listen to somebody who's interpreting it. You know, listen to the real person, if you like. So. Well,
apparently that's what's happened, because Sinatra's sales have zoomed since Robbie's album came out. Yeah. You know.
Well, I think it was the same with us with Billy Joel. His greatest hits came out after we released Uptown Girl all over Europe. So
he's going to have a happy Christmas from the extended royalties. Let's hear Zombie. Okay. All right, coming out of that. Now, that's the influences left behind. It's a pity. I better ask this for the fans of the people who aren't here. You know what I mean? Okay?
Yeah.
For the guys who aren't here, anyone can answer this. You know, if I had the two other voices here and they were going to pick influences, would they be vastly different from what we've talked about?
I think Shane would be very Michael Jackson influenced.
All right, okay.
He's probably go down along that road. He was a big pop fan when he was a kid. And Brian...
Isn't he the one who wanted to do Uptown Girl when he was a kid? Wasn't that always the song? Yeah.
It's the first record he bought.
Yeah.
And then Brian growing up, because I remember when we first met Brian, he was Oasis, Nirvana, all that type of stuff.
He was a big Nirvana. He actually had the ticket for the show that was cancelled in Dublin.
All right, okay.
He still has those smelly people with greasy hair that walk around with like really baggy t-shirts on.
Yeah.
But I think as he went on, he opened up his opinion to a lot of music since he joined Westlife, and I think he's a huge fan of the Beach Boys.
Oh, okay.
Like he just
as well.
He loves their harmonies and stuff, you know.
Loves that type of stuff.
Okay, so let's go into, we haven't got their voices, but when it got into your own music, who pulled the shots at the start? I mean, we know how the band got together, and there's lots of shows on the telly and radio over Christmas where you're going to talk about it. But would Louis have been one of the major musical architects of the band?
Well, Louis
and does he sing on all the original recordings, really?
Yeah.
Come on. He sang on the Boyzone record, I'm sure.
He is.
Louis Watch.
He
is. One kid.
That was something we didn't know.
I don't think even Louis would even claim to.
No, he wouldn't.
Sing.
No, as much else as he'll claim.
He probably has a voice down there somewhere.
Okay. Sorry, Cian, you were saying.
Louis obviously is a very, very big music man, and he's absolutely brilliant when it comes to picking songs and picking music. You know, like all the songs that you heard from Boys and all the cover songs, you know, he picked all them. He helped pick a lot of the singles and stuff. So I think when we started getting into the band and when we started recording and stuff, Louis had a big influence on the songwriters, you know, and kind of he knew the good songs. And a lot of songs obviously get sent to Louis all the time from songwriters around the world, and you know he sits down and listens to them and you know picks out what he thinks is good and so on and so on. So himself and then our A&R man Simon Cowell.
All right. were the dominant forces.
Yeah.
And did you have to be frog marched into the studio and made to sing songs that felt wrong in your mouth?
No.
You, Mark, did you ever feel that? Come on, tell the truth. Now, one of the early songs, a B-side or something. Was there ever a moment?
Absolutely, no.
Yeah.
There's been lots of songs, and I mean, being quite honest, at the very start, we wouldn't have even opened our mouths if we didn't like something. If we hated something, we probably wouldn't have even opened our mouths. It would have taken.
You mean you wouldn't have talked again? You wouldn't have said no, we're not going to do it.
Literally, you know, amongst the five of us, we'd be totally 100% honest. But like when it came to talking to big record company bosses and Louis and stuff, you know, I mean, he probably even knows, you know. At the very start, we would literally have, like, we felt so lucky to be just there in that position to be recording that we would have just done anything, if you know what I mean.
I think a good example of that is Five. I mean, obviously there were songs that we knew weren't good songs because we're all music lovers, but we went into studio and we hear songs and we go, God, that's a terrible song, but you never know how it's going to turn out.
Okay.
And Five went into studio to record a song, Bye Bye Bye, which is a huge hit for NSYNC. It was like #1 in America. It was #1 all over the world. It was a massive hit. It sold millions of albums for them. Five went in to record that and told the producer to basically,
whatever,
off you go, and we're not recording that song. It's a load of rubbish. It's an unbelievable song. So you got to be very careful.
You
got to be optimistic and stuff.
What was the turning point where you began to say, okay, because I know you got stronger as the group over the years, right? And you're able to stand up and say, pull straws for whatever reasons. We're not doing particular interviews, or we're not going to this particular gig. You know, you're now very strong and independent. So where was the turning point in music where you went, forget it?
Well, a big step for us anyway. We probably, on the second album, we probably wanted to, you know, we had kind of, we had enough experience and enough kind of opinions then to say no, but we didn't really kind of grasp it then. We were still only learning, and we were still a little bit afraid, I suppose, to be 100% honest with people. Because you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot, and you don't want to, bite the hand that feeds you either. And people in record companies are, kind of experts, supposedly. And, you do listen to them an awful lot. And even when you do have an opinion and you do have a meeting with people, and that's how we started. We started having meetings with, the likes of Simon Cowell. And he would then, we'd go in the meeting, and we'd have an opinion, and we'd be leaving the meeting with his opinion. He would totally have turned us.
It's got manipulation.
Exactly. And,
he's an unbelievable politician.
Is he?
Yeah,
is
a
he
big
great
politician.
at that?
And that's what happened. But then, eventually we did record those songs. The second album went out and it sold. I mean, the second album very well. It sold 8 million worldwide. But there was certain songs on it that we knew, even when they were going on, they shouldn't be on it. But we let it go, and now we look back on it, and it's just one of those things. You just get on with it, to be honest. But the third album was the one then where we put the foot down and said, "Look,
this is what we're doing."
Yeah, but we still had 18 songs on it.
I think though, as long as we work with like pop producers and stuff, I don't think we're ever going to be able to give it like 100% of what we think it should be like. Especially with
you won't be able to go down as far down the road in terms of rock or in terms of
no. I just think that number one, the pop producers and the way kind of pop music is at the moment, it's so sort of pristine and pristinely produced and stuff, and very kind of clean or whatever, that when they write a song, when they write a song or whatever, they'll come in and, I mean, they're so protective of every, like, I mean, they bring in a demo where somebody's actually sung it down already, and the demos these days aren't just like a fella playing a guitar in his room on a tape recorder. They fully produce demos, and they get like a proper session singer in, and you basically sometimes have to just literally copy what the session singer does.
And in fairness to them, they have to do that for the record to be good enough to record, because if they just have a guitar demo, usually record company boss just kind of go, what's that about? Because they're so used to listening to demos fully produced.
So let's hear something from one of the early albums that you absolutely stand by still and will forever do on stage. I think
a good song is a song, Can't Lose What You Never Had. I think it's just different. It's from the first album.
Come on, Mark.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'd have that.
Which
one? Let's make tonight special. It's on an EP that we did.
I'm sure they could find us.
We'll get it.
And why, Mark, do you think that's particularly good?
Well, I think it was one of the very first songs we ever recorded, and I think it just kind of, I mean, to be quite honest, I think we should be very proud of it for one of the first songs we recorded, because it's a great song.
It was wasted as a song to be
I think for people that were in the studio for the very first time, looking back, I think we done very well to achieve the vocals and stuff that we achieved in it and everything, and just as a song for a band, one of the first songs for any band to record, it's very impressive, like that, and that's looking back, I wouldn't have said.
And I think as well, Mark, when we recorded it, there was the producer we recorded with, Merlin Music in Sweden, he wasn't very you know, has to be like this down the line. Like a lot of producers even there.
Big, big.
It was kind of like
name producers.
Do what you want with it, guys. You know, I'd like it to be this way, but
so you were able to express yourselves through it.
Yeah.
See, it's also, I do want to get across. I mean, we joked about Boyzone or whoever, but Louis, I know when he started Westlife, made it absolutely sure that everybody could sing.
Yeah.
So I know I asked you earlier to sing, but I was asking you a stupid thing, a high note from a Motown song. But if I asked you, the three of you, to do a harmony piece now or to sing along with a record we played, you could go there. So, I mean, you were able to sing from even the earliest recordings. I mean, that was...
well, yeah, I think that was the main reason why Louis picked us, because he was instantly impressed by this. We released this single independently down in Sligo and stuff, and I think he just kind of heard that and said, you know, that he obviously thought there was something different about it. And what he kept on saying to us is, guys, you can sing, like, you know, at last a boy band that can sing or whatever, you know, and I don't know.
But you guys can really do it. Yeah, but you guys can really sing.
Okay,
You know, that's what he was saying.
Now, who was he talking to? What three was he talking to? Three or five?
No, he was just talking. He was talking. This is like even after Nicky and Brian came in.
Right, okay.
Well, actually, that was before Nicky and Brian came in, and then what he said was that I think one of the main reasons why we cut some of the people that we cut at the time. I hate saying this, but like it's the truth, you know.
Cut them out.
It's Louis that done this, you know. Yeah, I mean, he wanted to have 5 singers, and that's one of the big reasons why he didn't sort of, I would say gel or like take a likeness to a liken to the other 3 people that eventually weren't in the band anymore.
Okay.
Right. But then for the audition, what he said to us is, guys, we really have to get a great singing band. We were looking for 2 singers here today at this audition, and Nicky and Brian were the first 2 up, and we were just, as I say, they obviously just stood out so much that we didn't even think about any of the rest of the 30 or 40 people that were there, you know.
All right, okay. So, well, let's hear if we can find that recording, or give us a second option, Cian, if we can.
Yeah, I think a good song from the first album that kind of is again a small bit wasted because it got stuck on the album at the end, and it was supposed to be a single in America but never got released. It's a song called Can't Lose What You Never Had. It's a bit more funky, and it's a bit more kind of chill type of funky song.
It's a bit more American as well.
Yeah, it's definitely American feel to it.
Yeah,
it's good.
Okay.
It's good tune.
So we have an option on those 2. Okay, we come straight out of that. We're going into. So we'll only need 2 more songs from. Maybe we take 2 from the new album. I'd like to end with some song, or maybe Flying, something that really lifts the audience at the end of the show.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So can we lead towards that?
Yeah.
I think it should be World of Our Own.
World of Our Own, yeah.
One of what?
World of Our Own. It's the next single.
We'll play Flying as well before that.
Yeah, why don't we play Flying and then?
I think Angel is a good song to play.
Yeah.
I Cry.
What do you think?
It's a bit more adult. It's a bit more adult. I Cry is good.
Oh yeah, remember that you're getting actually to a kind of middle of the day Radio 1 audience now. So this might be a good way of kind of just
I Cry
showing.
is more. That's really.
I mean, you guys are doing great. I mean, I think it's great because a lot of people who just think you're dummies in the background who don't know. I think this is great because we're talking as I am with all the as I would with any musicians.
Yeah.
So let's kind of back that, and maybe I don't know if you want to go to give the single a plug might not be the best thing unless you think it's a brilliant song.
It is a brilliant song.
All right, okay, but then we can say
it's
that.
an uplifting song.
You know what I mean? So an uplifting, brilliant, but I want to go for the ones that are really going to show people. These guys are really serious about what I've just heard them talk about it. Now let's hear it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I really think I Cry could be a better one because of the nature of the audience or the way.
Yeah, I Cry definitely.
Is it sad though? Is it a sad ballad?
No, it's not.
It's like a Latino ballad.
It's really adult compared to other stuff, you know.
Well, we'll lead into it and see which way it goes, and then I'll give you 3 options at the end. Okay, Cian, coming out of that song, you mentioned there kind of that that recording was more American, had an American feel to it. What about America? And I mean, we've all talked publicly about this, is we're pushed to the limits in terms of breaking America, and it hasn't happened. I mean, is this still the ultimate goal for 2002, 2003?
I suppose America is on the minds of us all at the minute, you know. We had a big chat about it last week, and the way the band are feeling at the minute, we were so tired, we were just like, we don't even want to think about it. But it really depends on America. It doesn't really depend on Westlife. It depends on the record label. It depends on the songs. It depends on how much kind of realistically money has to be pumped into it to break America, and it all depends on all that. And we're not willing to go there and break our arses like we did for the last time for 8 weeks. Flying from doing 2 crappy little flights a day, and but the feel is good at the minute. You know, the record company are really up for it. They're flying out for meetings. They're flying in for meetings. You know, over and back to America. You know, they're kind of even putting in video treatments already, and we're not even talking about doing this until next summer. They're putting in video treatments. You know, they're putting in budgets. They're putting in marketing plans. They're putting in everything. So I think we'll just wait and see what happens. But
it was serious. I mean, Brian isn't here, but he talked to me in Hot Press about how he nearly cracked up. I mean, that he was going through a stage where, like, he did say he was drinking too much and everyone was lonely and missing whoever their partners were, and you just felt it's still. But I want people out there, I want a lot of young people who might be listening to the show too, to realise behind the glam and behind the TV special they'll see, there's a price that has to be paid at a human level.
Absolutely. I'll put it this way, Joe, we could never, ever, ever do again what we did in America.
We'd break up. We'd lose our minds.
All right.
Honestly, it was like, we went over there, we had a lot of success, you know, everywhere, especially in Ireland and the UK.
In advance of going.
Yeah, and we were going over there. In fairness to the Americans, they do have this kind of rule that they don't fly anybody, you know, for example, in business class, unless you sold 1 million records in their country. Okay. And that was fine. And what we did, we'd sold, I think, 4 or 5 million at the time, but not in America, obviously, elsewhere. Right. So our record company in the UK said, you know, well, we'll foot the bill for your flights. So that was fine. When we got to America, we were doing, you know, every little radio show you could think of. We'd gone from playing like the Point and Wembley to doing, you know, a little PA in Blanchardstown Shopping Centre in front of 30 people. Yeah. Now, we knew we had expected that and we didn't mind doing that. You know, we had to start somewhere. But we were also, you know, the UK company had said, you know, you have to go and do whatever the Americans want you to do. You know, if they want to cut your hair, cut your hair. If they want you to dye your hair, dye your hair. Okay. So we went over there as a band with a lot of success this side of the world. And then it was like, okay, you're going blonde, you're going short, you know. And the video we shot was like, you know, now we are a boy band, and there's no, you know, we don't deny that. But we like to call ourselves a bit of a modern day boy band as opposed to cheesy boy band in the past or whatever. But when we were over there, it was like the video was, you know, licking ice creams with, you know, 5 American girl dancers, cars. You know, doing a dance routine to a ballad, Swear It Again. And now when we go back to our hotels and, you know, you go back maybe at 11 o'clock at night and you're up at 5:30 to go to, you know, some other part of the States, and you come in and you watch NSYNC doing Jay Leno and you're just thinking, like, if we were allowed to be what we really are,
who you are,
and get those TV shows and get those things, we could do it. And apart from that, you can come to a country like Ireland and do the Late Late Show, and the majority of the country will see you. You can go to England and do Parkinson or the National Lottery, and a lot of the country will see you. Whereas America, you've got to do that in each state, and each state has their own radio station, and maybe 5 or 10 in each state, and it's just, you know, it just killed us. It absolutely killed us.
The problem was,
but that was also the time you did the Mariah Carey video. So
but we didn't.
At the very end of that, kind of being
but that wasn't released in America
for a few days in the middle of all that, and
it's back and forth.
The problem was they didn't think of us as human beings at the time. They thought of us as a machine to go out and sell the records.
Plan either.
Right. And that was the problem. They had us flying from Asia we were in Asia for 2.5 weeks, going straight into America for eight weeks solid, right? And then at the bottom of that, they had 2 weeks in South America. Now we were at this stage, we were like 2 days before we were going to South America. We were all sitting in LA and in like one of these Winnebagos at the back of a TV studio. We were doing a TV show, and we started talking to each other, and everybody was freaking out. They were cracking up, banging heads off walls and everything. Yeah. So we just had to go out and cancel South America. We're like, there's no way in the world we're going. If you want the band to go to South America, we're going to break up. And we're telling you that now for a fact. Brian had been home and back again. You know, Mark had been home as well because unfortunately his grandmother died. She rest in peace. And grandfather died.
The man is still around.
Sorry, grandfather died.
No, because his grandfather, your grandmother you mentioned before we started recording.
Yeah, no, sorry. I just wasn't thinking.
Happy New Year, grandmother.
But you know, so it was just time, and it was everything. But I mean, I feel the band are good enough to do it. I feel we have the songs. I feel we have everything.
And was there any way that by backing out at the last moment and not doing what they wanted you to do, you muddied the water and that you've had black mark against you over there?
No. The problem is, Joe, it left us with a bitter taste in our mouth, and it's still there today. Yeah. And until the 5 of us, you know, even the 5 of us argue about it, and not mean argue, we sit down and we're like, you know, some people want to go and do it again, and some people don't, and some people would love to, but unless the plan is there, they're definitely not going to get on the plane. And it's all about, you know, we're around for 3 years now, and we know the ins and outs of the music pop industry anyway. And to break America, you need, as Keane said earlier, money behind you. You need great videos, cool videos, you know, not cheesy videos, because America is all about being a little bit street. you know, and you have to. We're not going to change into like a hip hop band or an R&B band or anything like that. We are what we are, but you need money behind you. And the most important thing is the promotional thing. If you don't have the proper promo and you're doing crappy TVs that nobody's going to see, you can stay there for 10 years and you'll still won't break the market.
Okay.
So, and you'll just dwindle and you'll end up splitting up, and that's not what
You
we
also
want.
may end up spending a fortune getting your teeth done and it still doesn't work out.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
Take that knife out.
I mentioned no names. Let's hear play a recording from to lead us up towards the end. Whoever wants to choose it. What?
It's the pieces.
Oh, your pizza. Yeah, I don't mind.
No, wait.
I'm not hungry. I'm not eating any.
All right. Okay. Yeah, just two more songs and then we can.
Yeah, no.
Can they eat while they're doing this? No? Too much noise, would it be?
But all right, go on.
Okay. All right, so I'll just come out of the American conversation. I'll just say, let me put it this way, okay? We've talked about America, and we'll talk a little bit more about the successful side of it all after this song. But somebody lead me into one of the songs that you want to play from more recent album, more recent recording.
I think a good song to play is, because it kind of this song kind of it shows a bit of a change in myself. You know, we're a very ballad-based band and stuff. Yeah. But this song, when we first heard it, we thought it'd be a great hit. It was going to be a huge hit because it's a great song, and it's just a great party song. And it's the title track off the album as well, the new album, and it's called World of Our Own.
Okay. Now straight out of that, because I'm going to get another option. Because instead of going up to, are we ending with Flying or I Cry? What is it?
I Cry, I think.
And what about Flying?
You can do that if you want. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll ask again a second option. I mean, if someone else wants to choose.
If you want to finish on
no, I'm going to trust you.
Wings.
Yeah, Flying Without Wings might be a good way to
finish on
that.
Flying, and we'll do this as I Cry.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be that chronological.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so we have that. Okay, so now we're leading into I Cry.
Good.
Okay, so Mark, we at the end of the year, right? We talked about the lack of success and not quite breaking America and the hopes to do that next year. But I mean, you've had phenomenal success in the past year here. Mm-hmm. I mean, the awards show and all that. I mean, is everybody keeping a handle on things, or is it getting a little out of order again?
I think it always gets to the stage at Christmas time, you know, because we're pushed so much by the record company. I mean, you know, as we said earlier on, we do sell a lot of albums, so they want us in every country doing every TV show. Yeah. You know, so we're pushed an awful lot, and we're always knackered, and you know, and then we go out to have a laugh to try and get away from it all, you know, and get drunk, and we probably don't, you know, we go home at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we have to get up at 7, you know.
5 o'clock?
Or 7 o'clock in the morning. we go home at 7 o'clock in the morning, and we have to get up at 7:30. Right. You know, but I think it's natural to do that. We're young, you know, we're 22, 23 years of age, but I think, you know, we'll come back after Christmas with clear heads again, and everybody will be fine. And I think we'll probably. I said to Mark actually last night that we wanted to sit down and kind of get our work environment right after Christmas. You know, I want to sit down with all the boys and just talk about the work environment. And me and Nikki spoke about it the other night as well, actually, and just get things right, because there's little niggly things that annoy us all that make it hard.
I want you to become a security guard. What do you think, Joe?
Okay.
Yeah. Travel the road.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're taking a month off too, aren't you, to try and to get a handle on it all too.
And we're all going to chill out, and then we're going to come back with fresh minds, sit down, talk through everything, and try and get things right.
So you have a month to have a hell of a hangover.
And that will be done.
Okay, Mark, do you want to lead us into one more song? I Cry. You particularly want me to play this? You want
well, I think especially the audience for this show is probably going to be slightly different than our average audience or whatever. And one thing that we did say to our song pickers or whatever was for this new album was that, you know, we wanted some songs that sort of, I mean, we don't mind doing the pop songs, the real kind of like clean cut beat, like sort of catchy pop songs or whatever. You know, we like them. That's part of us, and we don't mind doing it. But we also wanted to
Queen.
show up. You what?
Like Queen, Queen of my heart.
Oh,
no.
Well, I don't know. Anyways, basically, we said to the record company, you know, the people that kind of go off and try and find songs for us, that we wanted to kind of have some songs that we can actually just properly sing and kind of, you know, songs that adults will listen to and won't go, that's nice, will actually go, oh my God, I love that song, if you know what I mean. And they came back with this one. It's called I Cry, and it's just, I think, a lot more soulful and adult, sort of one that will maybe reach out to more than just kids or whatever, if you know what I mean.
But isn't that also where a band like Westlife has to start leaning towards
I think
in
so,
the
yeah.
fourth and fifth year?
Yeah, you know,
if you think the time span is going to be 5, which we've all talked about before, if it is 5, whatever, and if you go solo or don't.
Well, I mean, you know, it could be.
You want to build a bigger base.
Yeah, I mean, I could be totally wrong in saying it, but I mean, it could be, and it could be just 5 years, and that could be, we could be gone. I don't know. You know, who knows? But you know, I think that we're different than the last band. We're different than the next band because of the 5 people, and we're 5 individuals, and we make up a unique sort of unit or whatever. You know, so who knows? We might actually last like a month or two past that 5-year point. Who knows? Like, you know.
Okay, but
hopefully we'll last 5 years and 2 months.
all the boy band members can meet in Lily's or somewhere and have a fist fight over it.
Yeah,
only
but
lasted 5.
This song hopefully will kind of maybe help us achieve more than the average boy band or whatever, you know, and
okay.
Yeah, it's called I Cry. Here it is.
Okay, so I think I Cry will also, anybody out there who wants to give them the job as singers individually after the whole thing does fold, listen to this. Okay, now we're wrapping up. Then we can get to their pizza. Okay, Flying Without Wings. I just think it is a good way to kind of get out of the show.
It's a song that when we do go, it's a song that everyone remembers.
Well, let me go back in at that. We ready? Is the tape still running? Okay. All right. Nicky, you were saying there just before we were listening to that that Flying Without Wings is the kind of song that if and when it does fold, whether it's 15 years from now, I'm very optimistic that this particular song is a great one to have left behind.
Yeah, I think it is. I think, well, it won't be 15 years anyway. No, not for sure. But no, I mean,
I'll be in a rock band by then, Joe.
Okay, all right.
As Mark was saying, hopefully, I mean, the 5 of us have sat down numerous times, especially now we're into our 3rd year, 3rd album, and we've got the greatest hits next year. It doesn't spell the end of Westlife, by no means.
The fact that you're bringing out the greatest hits.
Yeah, I mean, it's just we've had 3 albums. We've had a lot of singles released in that time. We will have had. And it is time to bring out the greatest hits. Our main aim from day one was to get the greatest hits part 2. That was our main aim, which no boy band had ever done. Which means recording, maybe 2 more albums after the greatest hits, and then throwing out the the best of or something like that. But I think this song, Flying Without Wings, is the song that when it does all fold will be, the one we're remembered for. With all the number ones and all the things in the past, Flying is a song that will never be out of date. It's a great written song, and it's a wonderful vocal, and I just think it's, it stands us above the rest of the boy bands in the past.
All right. Do Keane and Mark, do you both agree with this particular
absolutely
track?
No, I think Flying Without Wings is the one. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it is our best song. If you know what I mean, it's the best song we've recorded ever. I think, especially if we recorded it now, it mightn't be the best song, but I think it was like one of our first singles. If you know what I mean, and we recorded it when we were a very young band, and I just think that that song achieved more than any other song has ever done for Westlife. If you know what I mean,
I don't think it's achieved its full potential though.
Why? In what sense?
Because I think when we released it, it didn't get an awful lot of airplay, so people didn't really get to know the song through the radio and stuff like that. They more got to know the song when they bought the album,
right. Or in concert.
Or in concert, if you like. So I think, the more everyday person that wouldn't be a Westlife fan wouldn't really know the song that well, because maybe Ireland is a bit different, because I know we do get an awful lot of airplay here. But in the UK, it wasn't a very big airplay song, because there's no chorus in it. There's nothing, to kind of catch the listener's ear, if you like. Right. There's no tempo, it's a slow ballad. But amazing song. So I think it hasn't reached its full potential, and I think it's a shame that it didn't do that. But still,
is there anything you can do about that? You can't re-record or re-push it.
We could remix it maybe, and do it as a duet with somebody or something like that, and then throw it out as a single off the greatest hits. I don't know.
We could release it in America if and when we do go back to America.
Right.
If it was released in America and got on a big film. Right, that's opening so many different doors for the band.
Top Gun 4.
Exactly. Rocky 10.
Okay, so before you leave me, just because it is New Year's Day. Better say that again. For a moment, I didn't know what day is it here. Okay, guys, before you go, because it's New Year's Day, just wrap up. I mean, I mentioned earlier, Mark, when I was talking to you about maybe there are some kids listening to this too, apart from the adults, who are saying, I sound like those guys, I come from the same areas, and I can sing. I'm going to go for it. So just tell me at the end of this particular year the highlight and the low light of it for each of you.
Highlight, I think, was the world tour.
Right.
Meeting the Pope.
Meeting the Pope as well was a huge highlight.
Is that a political answer? Or is that,
No,
are you just
definitely.
correct? Okay.
And World Tour was amazing. It was
If you had to single out one thing, like one day of one thing that we done, it would be meeting the Pope. But I think King was also right in saying the World Tour, because that was when we
brought us to a new level.
A big step for the band, and it brought an element of enjoyment in that we'd never had before. And I think it's an element of enjoyment that will keep us together for a long time, because we all love performing so much. And
like when things go bad, you remember those particular moments.
Yeah, and when things go, like, I mean, for instance, what's in a way what's pulling us through these last few months of really, really hectic, heavy promotion schedule stuff is the fact that we're going on tour very soon in a couple of months' time. You know, all we kept on saying to each other right through is, look, don't worry, we're going to be on tour soon, lads, and everything's going to be okay.
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And touring, Joe, is just, you know, you
it's
don't
just unbelievable. Even talking about it now and getting shivers up my spine, thinking about what it's going to be like.
Once you're in the venue for 7 o'clock, 7:30, and you're on stage at 9, you know what you're doing. It's just, you know, you're off stage on such a high when you come off stage. You know, you just enjoy yourself.
It brings a bit of routine into your day as well, because I mean, usually we'd be doing things left, right, and centre differently. You know, every single day we'd be other countries doing different types of jobs. But on this time around, at least you can wake up and know what you're doing that night and the next day and the next day. You know, it's like. So
you kind of answered my question. Sorry, Matt, you kind of answered my question about the low light. That's the low light of the year, when you just get caught up in that whole treadmill.
Yeah, basically.
When you're releasing something, especially
so promotion is the low life, and touring is the high life.
Okay. All right. So.
For me, the Pope was the best.
All right. Yeah. You're going to be very popular at home now for mentioning the Pope again. Okay. So we should Flying Without Wings. I will say goodbye to the 3 members of Westlife who are here and wish you all the best for the new year.
Thank you very much.
I actually wish you. I hope you break America and get the second greatest hits out.
Thank you very much.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Yeah.
Hi, Joe Jackson here again. Thank you for listening to this edition of the Joe Jackson Interviews podcast. More can be heard, as I said, at joejacksoninterviewer.com.